Jam, everyone. Welcome back to another GC Crypto episode. It's good to be with you guys. Craig is still away for another, I think, half a week, I'm going to say. I think he gets back from New Zealand next week. So it's been nice for him to have a little bit of a break with his family. But as I've been doing this week, I've been trying to get some more different guests on, people that I've met recently, people I've known for a long time. And obviously, Mitch here from Imperial Wealth. I met him down at Oz CryptoCon. What was that, like 3 weeks ago, I think now? So
Yeah, it was
absolutely.
mid-November,
Yeah,
yeah.
what was that? Yeah, 3 weeks ago. It's
Yeah.
crazy how time flies these days, hey?
Yeah.
But obviously, Mitch, great to obviously get you on. We connected like pretty much straight away, and we're deep in conversation, and we're like, hold on, we need to definitely make sure we catch up again. So, absolute privilege to have you on, mate. How you going today?
Yeah, good. Just getting by. I think, as we were saying before, waking up to that interest rate decision volatility and the markets going up and down. Well, Bitcoin managing to not go up too much, but
Yeah.
yeah, just embracing it all. I think I'm getting ready personally myself for the summer period. It's obviously a bit
Mhm.
different for us Australians versus I think the internationals where their summer period's obviously inverse to us, but yeah, just getting by at the moment. So yeah.
Excellent, mate. Excellent. And you live down in Melbourne, hey? So it's not as warm and hot regularly as it is up here in Queensland, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. So you're Brisbane based, aren't you? Yeah.
Oh,
So
and the sunny coast now. I was busy.
okay. Yeah. Well, most of my friends in crypto are all Queensland. You're all Queensland
I know
based. I
it's
think we
crazy.
spoke about this at the
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I'm down in Melbourne, so you can actually see me in my bedroom. Sorry about this, everyone, but I'm not in the office today. But yeah, down in Melbourne, it's actually the weather's turning for the better at the moment. But you
Good.
know, in Melbourne, it's like you get one hot day and you're like, summer's back, and tomorrow will probably be 13 and rainy. So don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but yeah, no, it's all good down here. It's all happening. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, GM to everyone in chat. Obviously, guys, we will do maybe a yeet giveaway at the end of the show as we've been doing every single day this week. But as we always start, guys, massive shout out to our two partners. So OKX, you can get started down below. If you trade $500, you get $75 of Bitcoin for free. And then obviously, if you do sign up, you can get some USDT daily claims as well. So I think you're walking away with nearly $150 free cash if you sign up down below, one of the most trusted exchanges in the world. And then obviously we have Yeet, guys, which we've done 22K volume. So it has slowed down a little bit, guys. Come on, don't forget. The more volume you do, the more cash we can give away. And Mando might take away more cash, guys, if we don't get this volume up. So as always, gamble responsibly. Check out the sports book. I know they've added some NRL too and stuff. So if you are Australian, then it looks like they'll be adding some new Australian-based sports in the new year as well, which is exciting. But don't forget, we will be doing a $50 giveaway again today. So $250 given away every single week. And they will have an airdrop likely in the new year. 40% of that is going to the community. Massive shout out to those guys. And yeah, as always, right on cue, we've got some spammers in the chat on Kick. I love it, dude. Oh, dude, I don't know where these guys even come from. Um, they're probably bots. Anyways, we'll just
Probably
tighten
some
that
of
up.
my mates that I sent the link to.
But look, where do you want to start? We'll start with like a journey. So talk to me about crypto. So how I always like to start these conversations is more around like how long ago did you join crypto? What was your first sort of exposure to the market? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was actually really fortunate that two of my high school, well, actually primary school, best friends, Will and Cal. I think you might have met Will maybe at the OKX launch event, or you would have heard him speak
Hmm.
there. But really, their introduction, I'll start with them first, was into mining, into Bitcoin mining. Cal, the other founder of both Imperial Wealth and Mining Store, was really big into computers,
Yeah.
really big into their World of Warcraft, their RuneScape, and really that's where they got involved, as a lot of people back in the day
Mhm.
got involved with crypto, or at least with Bitcoin, with paying for gold and all these things anyway. So they got exposed to it, and I was lucky enough to get exposed to it through them. But really, my journey to crypto actually came from the TradFi side. So I studied at Monash down in Melbourne. I did economics, finance, and accounting. Started off wanting to do stocks, started actually in accounting, tax accounting. And then really these guys started Mining Store. They then started a trading, investing, and education side, which was Imperial Wealth.
Hmm.
And then I had a chat to them. I was pretty unhappy in my TradFi role, and yeah, was fortunate enough. I think it was 5 years ago now, where I went to full time crypto. So it's been a long time. Feels about 50 years. And as you said, like times like even this year's been crazy. Like
Yeah.
It's been, and even 2024, I feel like we've been in like almost like a 2-year bear market, even though
Heavy.
prices have gone up on Bitcoin. But it's all flown by. But yeah, so I was fortunate enough to come across here. Yeah, 2021 start of or end of 2020, whatever it was, and yeah, I became the head analyst here where. I run a variety of investing and trading services. We do a ton of education, so trading courses and stuff as well. But yeah, my first introduction was through them. It was just a Bitcoin, namely. I was your classic last cycle to this cycle person.
Yeah.
But really, my trading and all those skills really developed from last cycle to this cycle. Whereas, I think a lot of us last cycle would just buy whatever, hold whatever, sell whatever.
Mhm.
We can obviously get into how this cycle's differed a lot to last cycle. But yeah, that was really my introduction through them. So yeah, Mining Store, for those that don't know, which is the sister company, is the largest hoster and distributor of ASIC Bitcoin miners in the Southern Hemisphere. And then obviously Imperial Crypto. There's a lot of other obviously education services in Australia, but we're one of the biggest as well. So we were keynote sponsor of the Australian CryptoCon last year.
Yeah.
And then we obviously had our stall this year again. We weren't keynote sponsored, but yeah, like Greeny and stuff, we partnered with OKX very recently. We're also partnered with CoinStash, which is located in Brisbane. I'm sure you know a few of those guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, just looking to really grow out the crypto community in Australia. And contribute where we can. So yeah, that's most of the
Yeah.
story.
No, I love that. I mean, like that's the same passion and goal as I really have. Like, just become an educator in this country, and I don't see like people like yourself and your team and whatnot as competitors. I see as a partnership growing together to really
Yeah.
capitalize on the upside that we have in this country. Like I was said this on the SwiftX podcast when I was in Sydney for Oz CryptoCon. I touched on the base of Australia has so much wealth in this country, and there's still so much upside in terms of people who haven't even got exposure to this market or blockchain tech or whatever we want to call it, right?
Yeah.
So I do think that there's still a lot of upside as we navigate the future years, particularly now that the rest of the world really seems to be just accepting it as a pretty big industry, a disruptive industry up there with obviously AI. So it's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of exciting times. So obviously, yeah. So this is your second cycle, so I love to hear it.
Mm.
What has been your experience this year? Like, because like I don't know if you know much about my story. I've been in crypto since 2016, so this is my third cycle.
Yeah.
Basically round trip first cycle, second cycle got scammed with NFTs and like bought a car. Like it was just horrendous. I was in
Yeah.
debt. I like owed tax. It was horrendous. Managed to get out of that. Then yeah, basically started my brand, started G2G, my trading group and education community at the start of or the end of 2023. And from there, we've all kind of collectively made a lot of money trading
Mm.
pretty much on chain sort of stuff this cycle. So it's been
Yeah.
one
Cool.
of my favorite sort of periods of time in crypto over my sort of 9-year journey. But I'd love to get your take. So you obviously joined, you said about 5 years ago. So that puts us in about 2020. So you did
Yeah.
capture a lot of, as you said before, the old coins that went up. You could literally just like throw a dart at a board and probably pick something, it would go up. Very different to this cycle. It's been very rotational. We've had to be very aggressively taking profits or cutting in validation. So talk to me about your experience and how you navigated, maybe adapted from last cycle to this cycle.
Yeah, so I think, the biggest thing from obviously this cycle to last cycle that you mentioned is last cycle, first and foremost, is the fragmentation and dilution that's been created this cycle through on-chain or through Solana or through Pump Fund, whatever you want to call it, has obviously just made things far more difficult for any normal retail user because, back in 2020, even then, like we had 1,000 coins that maybe all of us would choose from. When Bitcoin went up, everyone bought the same basket of 50 coins, right? We bought our Polkadot, we bought our Atom, all the crazy, whatever the tech was at the time.
Yeah.
Everyone made money. And obviously this cycle, when stuff happens, there's a billion meme coins, a billion different L1s now, there's a billion different L2s. So really the shift that I've had from at least an investing standpoint with my clients is you have to really hone in on high conviction, low diversification coins. And like you said, it's been really tough as well because of the narrative rotation. So you might have found a coin, I'll go back to the easiest example I found is like AI agents late last year. You would have been trading those on chain for sure. It
Yeah.
was like, how long was that? That was like maybe a month or two where these ran from like zero to like, I remember one I was in was
Billy.
Hey Anon. From Danielle
Yeah.
Estaf, who that is. That
Yeah.
went from zero to about like 300, 400 mil in the space of a month. And if I went to look at the chart now, yeah, and virtuals, I've seen Pippin running lately. Like, there's just so much crime amongst all of these coins.
Mm-hmm.
Beta, yeah. So all of these coins, and like, if you went in and out of that narrative within the month or two, like it's dust now. Look at that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
150 down to 4. If you got almost every chart, it's like
Yeah.
that. And that's not to pick on that narrative at all. Like, if you go to even all the meme coins,
Mm-hmm.
all the hot ones from then. But yeah, really, that's been a strategy change for me. Has been ensuring that I'm not spread amongst 20 to 30 coins that I might have been at the peak of 2021, but really I'm in between, anyway, I'd say between 5 to 10 high
Okay.
conviction tokens that are more low risk, that I know will go up if the market goes up. I think there's still a lot of investments you could make in altcoins right now where you can't have that conviction.
Yeah.
That's even in a lot of the ones that are quite high. So the
Yeah.
ones that I'm talking about might be like your hyperliquids, Solana, BNB. Whilst these might have, in your own mind as an investor, minimal return due
Mm-hmm.
to, yeah, they're just not as high risk. But I think those coins are going to go up with Bitcoin goes up. Can you say that for 99% of the rest of the market? No. I
Mm-hmm.
think if you went back and look at this year, right? Like, we traded sideways and 99% of the market is down. I'll touch on one other thing as well. I think it's been hugely important to, where last cycle was just all investing, right? And then there was a touch of NFTs, like you said at the end. There was hardly any on chain. Obviously, perpetual futures trading was big back then.
Mm-hmm.
Airdrop farming was still kind of coming in, but I believe this cycle you had to develop a secondary skill.
Yeah.
So whether that was leverage trading, whether that was airdrop farming, hyperliquid, Lighter, Asta, all these kinds, whether it was on-chain trading through Photon wallet and stuff on Solana, you had to develop a second skill to make money in between the noise as the market chopped, because as you said, and as we've noted, 2024 and 2025, it's literally just been a sideways market besides very small periods of outperformance. So if you didn't have that skill, you most likely have lost money this cycle. So
Yeah.
that's something as well that we've tried to make our clients get into, whether it's been DeFi, whether it's been leverage trading, whether it's been airdrop farming. Developing a second set of skills that you can kind of do in between the noise. So
Yeah.
yeah.
100% agree there. Like, you touch base around what we've done so well, all cyclists, is
Yeah.
just follow what the trend is doing, following where the volume's going, and positioning yourself early, and then taking profits when the euphoria really hits there, or the masses start to arrive, or the volume really starts to increase. And it's funny how everyone still, and I still deal with this, like the comments on my Twitter page, the comments on YouTube, on our live chat, like the amount of people that are still like worried about strategies or tokens from 2021 that just aren't going to work in 2025 and never will probably work again. It's just baffling. Like, the best strategy, literally, if you have time obviously on your side and you can be more active, then yeah, join a community, because that's literally where you're going to probably learn skills, as you just said, and probably cover more of the market than trying to do it all yourself. Otherwise, you should probably just stick to the majors. So back
Yeah.
on the 5 or so tokens that you hold, is this a long-term plan? Is it a short-term plan? Do you guys swing trade as well, or do you trade yourself just individually, a little bit more degenerately?
Yeah, so I leverage trade majority of the time. And what I mean by leverage trade is people that are not proper risk management, psychological, traders that trade properly full time think it's gambling. And that is honestly what 99.99%. And you're Australian, you understand sports bet, you understand betting. It's literally no different. And this is what I explain to clients. If you don't have a strategy in place with even professional betting or betting yourself, and you're just doing same game multis and you're just betting on whatever horses, you're going to lose over the long term. Like, that's a given. That's statistically proven. And it's the exact same thing with trading. If you don't have risk management in place where you understand risking 1 to 2% position size per trade, you understand invalidation, something you mentioned before, stop losses, take profit, trailing stops, you're actually going to lose over the long term. However, if you implement these things, you'll actually win over the long term. And that's something I've massively introduced this cycle, as I noted before, is that, yeah, I'll have 5 to 10 coins, whether that'll be BTC, ETH, BNB, SOL, Link. And I'm not so much a swing trader of these. I do hold these as long-term positions. And really, to swing invest throughout the year, I will be using perpetual futures or leverage trading, as I said. And that's pretty much what I've tried to get a lot of my clients to do as well. And the reason is because most traders, like you said before, I think the number one worst thing they do is they don't take profit.
Mhm.
At least through this method of trading and and investing is that you can actually learn to take profits properly on perpetual futures positions through take profits at structural levels of resistance as the market goes up. Most people, as we know, they just ran, and I've done it this cycle. There's no denying. I can tell you, I can reel off plenty of investments I've had that I've held that I didn't take enough profit on. One is Phantom Sonic. I don't know
Oh,
if you know
yeah,
about that.
yeah, yeah.
Layer one. Yeah, I was massively into it in the bear market, investing 16 cents, 18 cents, 20 cents. Went up to $1.50, I think, last December when we had the massive post-Trump inauguration, pre-inauguration run-up,
Yeah.
where I think that was probably the all-time high this cycle for most alts.
Definitely.
Yeah, on multiple tickers, and even that one, and that was transfer from Phantom, sorry, upgrade, I should say, from Phantom to Sonic. And I think it's 9 cents now. So in a year that Bitcoin went from, that's traded sideways, Sonic is down over 95% or 99%. I don't even know what that would be. $1.50 down to 9 cents. And I've round tripped a lot of that from not taking profits. But yeah, there you go. So last December, yeah, you can't even see because
No.
because of the Phantom ticker. If you go to Phantom, like, it's the craziest chart. Yeah, FTMUSD, that's the one.
Oh, that's definitely not the right chart.
So yeah, that's one example. I've got other examples as well. I'm trying to think of, like, even like Chainlink, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
so you can see mid-cycle it went up to $1.50, yeah, late last 2025. But Chainlink's another, right? So I was investing at $5, $7. These are bear market lows in 2022. When it went up to 33, I think it was, I can't quite remember. Yeah, 34, you see late last year, similar period. Yeah, I didn't take enough profits and I'm still holding a decent bag. Well, I think my average buy is $8, right? And it's like 14, 15 now. So it's like, I'm not down on it. But yeah, I think that's been a major issue for not only myself, but for most holders this cycle, is we haven't, and it's that feeling, right, of holding out for that alt run that all of us keep promising ourselves, that which is a whole nother conversation we can have, but I don't think will happen. And I'm not sold that will happen now, because it obviously requires the right macroeconomic thrust, liquidity conditions that really don't align with prior cycles. Interest rates, even though we're getting rate cuts, are still at 3.75%. They're not at zero. They're not negative in Japan like they once were. We don't have COVID stimulus, although we might get some in the middle of next year. We're holding out for something that looks kind of unlikely to happen at this stage anytime soon. I did think there was a large chance it could towards the end of this year. I think trade tariffs and all of this, when you mesh it all together, it makes it kind of hard. But yeah, I mean, this is a great chart to look at as well, right? And one tip I will give to traders out there, and I've only just started including this, is with your total charts and even Bitcoin dominance, exclude stables. I think that's so I see everyone always posting the Bitcoin dominance chart, and even that chart, if you exclude stables, it looks like it's breaking down when you add in stables, but if you exclude stables, it's up only. So yeah, definitely a great tool there. But I mean, I've been blabbering so long, I've almost lost my train of thought. But yeah, back to the leverage trade. Yeah, that's just something I now have taught myself to do in between the noise, and it doesn't really make me think too much about my long-term investments. I hold maybe 5 to 10 of those. I will hold long-term. What I focus on those is value accruing back to the token, and something that I'm confident will be around next cycle. So as I said before, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, BNB, Hyperliquid, Asta, these type of coins that I know have value, buybacks, have real, they have it. And I think that's the most important thing, is, does this apply in a business sense to the real world? That's why Hyperliquid has performed so well, right? It actually has revenue. It actually has buybacks. It actually, perpetual futures is the best business in all of crypto. We all know
100%.
that. That's how centralized exchanges make their money. So why wouldn't you invest in a token like Hype? Which I do believe is at a fantastic level. I'm in a leverage trade on it right now. If you grab up the Hyperliquid chart, let's take a look at that, and you draw that fib, we've come right down perfectly to that golden pocket retracement. That then kind of aligns with the closing of those candles of prior all-time highs back in late 2024. So I think this is and as you said before, like, what do we look for as traders when we want to leverage trade or swing trade these positions? Like, I hold a ton of Hyperliquid from, I think we have an average buy of $7 or $9. At Imperial. But the thing is, it's like, so people ask me, oh, you buying more Hyperliquid? You buying? No, I just trade it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
100%,
I've got invalidation and a stop loss below the golden pocket, and I have a chance to trade on margin
Yeah.
Similar size to what I buy in spot, but with invalidation that I don't have to kind of worry about, right? So I think it's in a pretty good spot here, depending on if BTC can hold the line. But yeah, I guess that's what I do in between the noise.
No, I love that, man. It
Yeah,
aligns so like holistically with how I approach it and how I've really
yeah,
shifted my mindset this cycle because and that's why in GTG our focus really primary focus is like perps because you can always long and short the market and it teaches you strict skills about
yeah,
invalidation, stop losses, take profit, watching charts actively, understanding imbalances, knowing where the fibs are, knowing when something's maybe overbought or just oversold, and it allows you to then probably profit more with your spot trades because you're
yeah,
trading the market more accurately every single day. So no, it aligns really nicely with me. I think Hyperliquid goes a little bit lower.
yeah.
Looks like our momentum on higher time frames is still a little bit towards the downside, but we aren't far away. And I am very. I think maybe it pushes to 26. If it gets to 26, I'd probably take a nibble.
Mm.
And I do think
Yeah,
that this is something like this is definitely not a bad trade for sure. And if you get invalidated, and you just look to buy re-entry maybe at $20. Like that's how trading works. Like you don't win 100% of the time either. And I think that's
well,
it.
yeah, I think that's also the best part about learning to leverage trade is I think why most people fail in cryptocurrency trading in particular is they're fundamental traders. And I think we've had a chat about this prior that what getting into leverage trading really shifted my mindset was from fundamental to technical.
Yeah.
And I've like for the last 5 years I've probably stared at charts 5 hours a day,
Yeah.
drawing Elliott wave counts, harmonics,
Yeah.
1,000 billion different fibs.
Yeah.
And what it's actually taught me is to block out the noise because if you're a fundamental trader in this market, like you just get slaughtered. Like
100.
it's just like as simple as saying like, oh look, there's a rate cut. Might work in other markets where they're all green, but you would have just been slaughtered today
Yeah.
if you longed off of Jerome's dovish
Mhm.
comments early on, you'd get wrecked, right? And I say this all the time. What perpetual futures trading allows you to do with technical setups, understanding market structure, understanding a trend, looking at oscillators, looking at support and resistance, is that it allows you to block out the noise. And I teach this to a lot of my clients that do leverage trade is do not account for any fundamentals
Mhm.
when you trade. I try and block them out completely. I don't factor it into any of my analysis. Of course, it's different when you're investing, right? You need to
Yeah.
have fundamentals
Yes.
behind a project on its tokenomics, on its founders, what it does, what its product is, whatever. But I'm talking about leverage trading.
Yeah.
And if you try and rely in the cryptocurrency market in particular on fundamentals to guide you, you are going to get absolutely slaughtered. Unless you maybe inverse trade to those fundamental
Well,
thoughts.
like
Like,
I think what works well for me is a balance of both. But you are right. Like if you're trading perps and leverage most days, fundamentals don't even come into the conversation, right? Because
no.
it's too low time frame. It's not a longer time horizon sort of trade. It could be minutes, it could be hours, it could be days, right?
Yeah.
And I think the big lesson for a lot of people is learning to separate that. And it's okay to have separate portfolio allocated. Like for me right now, like I have money on Solana, I have money on Ethereum, I have money on Base, I have money on Perps, I have money in an airdrop, I have money
Yeah.
in an NFT, I have money in DeFi, money in spot, like money in cash. I think that's such a good way to go about it because it dips your toes. It allows you to capture trends, volume, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, no, it's great to, it's nice to, I don't often find people who probably have the same sort of mindset. Like
Yeah.
genuinely.
Well, I think it's because, yeah, I think when you develop this mindset from being in it for so long, so as you said, you've been in it for like, and it's the number one thing I tell people as well that come to leverage trading or to crypto is, like they just assume that it's going to click, right? And you need to be like the most important thing I tell people is time in the market. Like I could study for weeks on end my ass off on technical analysis and fundamental analysis, but none of it is going to make sense because you haven't seen the same thing occur a million times
Yeah.
before on Bitcoin. Coming into every interest rate decision now, I know exactly what's going to happen almost. I don't need a chart or the fundamentals or the speech. Like,
Yeah.
as we know, like Bitcoin is just a barometer of liquidity, right?
Yes.
And I think that's probably the reason why people fail to effectively trade if they're just basing it on fundamentals because market makers control the low time frame price, as you said. Like, there's no point in trying to use fundamentals when market makers just drive price to where most liquidity is.
Mhm.
And that's why I kind of mentioned the inverse to fundamentals because,
Mhm.
like, if the fundamental is good or it is a good news piece, the reason why we sell the news so often is because everyone is long, because
Mhm.
everyone fundamentally trades. So where do market makers push price? They're going to push it downwards to grab that liquidity before
Mhm.
pushing it higher. I feel like you only understand the notion so naturally and the flow of this liquidity by time in the market and
Yeah.
spending. Like as I said, you're the same. Like you're even longer than me, but like, I would stare at charts on average, like genuinely 8 hours a day, like
Yeah.
of my life, 5 to 6 days a week. And if you say last 5 years, think about how many hours that is.
Yeah.
And I guess most people, coming back to what I said, was they don't do this full time like you and I, so they don't have that experience and that kind of intuition to understand how the market moves.
Mhm.
And I think that's why most traders fail, is they just need more time in the market, more
Yeah.
experience,
100.
to really see how it moves and understand how it moves. So
Yeah. No, it's funny you touched on this point earlier there about an altcoin season. I've said this. I actually was on a podcast with the Jago guys from America back in
yeah,
2023, and I basically said, look, PO asked me at the time, he's like, "Oh, Greeny, do you think NFTs will have the same like cycle as what we did in 2021?" I said no. I said liquidity split. People are trading ordinals. People are trading meme
yeah,
um, meme coins. People are trading NFTs on Sol, on ETH now, and that and like that that aged very well. And I mean, I again
mm,
like three. This was in August. I said there's no altcoin season. It was
yeah,
against what everyone said, but guys, we're not going to get an altcoin season. It's as simple as that. People, and you touched on like a lot of the good stuff about why, but I'll add the point of people can see through the BS marketing, the hype, the speculation of what we couldn't see maybe in 2021. And I mean,
yeah,
like influences changed. In 2021, you had Elio trades, you had Alex Becker, you had Ben Cowan. You only had like a small percentage of creators, Ben Armstrong, etc. Right
yeah,
now, you have infinite traders, infinite creators that a lot of people can see through the BS of half of these idiots on there who are just trying to pump and dump their own bags, right? And
yeah.
to actually filter through that to find the people who are genuine, who give you the bearish and the bullish takes. So it just is another example of how you have to adapt to crypto. Otherwise, you'll be stuck trying to trade what was maybe a 3 or 4 year ago trend.
Yeah, I think that's like probably the saddest thing. You see a lot of people post on it now, right? And me and you, like I've been on Twitter for 15 years, but obviously only on crypto Twitter for 6 to 7 or whatever as
That's
a
longer than me.
speculator.
I've only started 2 years, 2 years.
Oh, right. Well, see, when I first got into crypto, I was already on Twitter, so
Yeah,
naturally I looked up things. So this is back in 2020, 2021.
yeah,
But like the quality, as you said, something you touched on was a really good point, was just so much higher back. And even in 2023 when you joined, it was the same.
yeah,
And these days, everyone's an influencer. I think AI and botting has completely ruined it as well. Back then, you didn't have people botted and blah blah whatever it was, and the quality of information is just so far gone. Whereas it almost is likened to the fragmentation and dilution of the coins. It's
yeah,
almost like they're both progressed in the exact same way. Back then, you had really good cohort of people that taught you what to invest in.
mhm,
People discussed the right coins, and there were only such limited information and coins. Now it's like way too many coins, way too many influencers, way too much fragmentation and dilution. So it's
yeah,
so hard to get an alt season if that's the case, because
exactly.
everyone is split amongst so much information,
Yeah,
amongst so many different coins. And one more thing I'll touch on, that is this. This is the simplest explanation I give to people when they ask me why there hasn't been an alt season. And I ask them, I say, who is the marginal buyer or investor in this market currently? And that is institutions,
yeah,
ETFs, right? And then they say that, and I go, okay. And I go, well, are these marginal buyers that are pushing Bitcoin so high and Ethereum so high and Solana, are they going to be buying your pump fund meme coin? Are they going to be buying whatever it is that
yeah,
you're holding down to zero that you think is going to go up? And the sad reality for most people that they don't want to face is no.
yeah,
Larry Fink's clients are not going to be buying those coins. They're just going
yeah,
to keep buying Bitcoin and Ethereum, and this is why these two have far outperformed most of the market. Of course, we have outliers, but they're the ones that I was talking about before that bring native crypto, bring actual influence to crypto. So your Hyperliquid, BNB, Solana, these all had a use case this cycle,
yeah,
on chain and more. And that's the reason why they're only the ones that have gone up. So
yeah,
really, that's the simplest explanation. Who is the marginal buyer? Who is the one bringing demand to the market? It's institutions and ETFs.
yeah,
Okay, why haven't we got an alt cycle? Okay, it makes sense because they're not the ones buying
yeah.
these coins.
And as you touched on earlier, like attention has really shifted, right? In
Mm,
2020 to 2023, everyone was at their computer, everyone was at home, everyone was looking for a new hobby, and that's where they discovered crypto, right?
correct.
Everyone's gone back to work, no one has spare liquidity, right? Like it's bloody expensive to live in Australia for sure,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it's very common across the world. And I mean, if we're looking at what potentially could happen even in 2026, it looks like rates could actually go up in our country, right? So it's like, okay, well, how are we going to see any people buying your Matics or
yeah,
your dots, your Cardonas? Because like, and again, like you go back to, well, what's fundamentally a good decision, but then where is a good technical layer to maybe get into it? That's
yeah,
sort of the way I like to think about it. Um, let's touch base around the more degen side of the market. What's your thoughts on prediction markets? Obviously in Australia, you can't actually use these because
yeah.
they don't technically have the license, even though we
Mhm.
spend $250 billion on gambling every year. Doesn't necessarily mean you can't access it, obviously. But what's your thoughts around Polymarket and obviously I use Myriad because it's on abstract and it actually does work in Australia, so I enjoy
Okay,
that. But
I didn't know
like
that. So
Kalshi and Polymarket don't work. What are your thoughts around that?
yeah, I only discovered recently because I was a few months ago using Polymarket
Yeah,
to speculate on even the Australian election. I remember I was betting on it then. I think I did a stupid bet on Liberal because the odds on the only
yeah,
reason I did it was because of the disparity between the sports bet odds and the Polymarket odds.
yeah,
Like sports bet had like let's just call it 10-1 on
yeah.
the Liberal. I can't even remember what the fucking dude's name was at Voldemort. I have no idea about Australian
Actually, oh
politics.
yeah, Peter
Uh,
Dutton.
yeah, Peter Dutton. Yeah, and then like Polymarket was say paying 25-1 because
Yeah,
it had him at like 6% or whatever it was. Um, but yeah, I think once again, as I said, I think one of the best things you could do if you're a speculator out there and you don't have much capital, begin farming Polymarket, begin farming these things because I do think they have huge areas to grow. And I think the main key here is seeing how they're getting regulated in the United States. I think Polymarket obviously just got approved
mhm,
by the CFTC to officially be there after being banned for a few years. Um, obviously, Kalshi is the other big one, but like it's just it's a really hard one to ascertain, isn't it? Because it's just kind of cooked that you can they're being used for everything. Like
yeah.
prediction markets are. It's like I can't even
It's new.
ascertain.
Yeah,
Yeah, like what? Like it's like you can almost bet on absolutely anything. So I don't think it's going to slow down because
yeah,
I think the easiest kind of thesis you can have for these is humans love greed and they love to gamble on absolutely anything. And if you can log into Polymarket and gamble on when the next time Donald Trump is buying groceries, yeah, it's gonna be pretty successful. So I think if you're a speculator out there with not much capital, begin farming these
yeah,
platforms because they are going to have airdrops. Um, it might be a bit late, but like who knows? That's the
yeah. You don't
good
know.
thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like yeah, I think it is it's a sustained narrative that's going to have a big one, and I think you can liken it to the hyperliquid Asta, um, narrative trade that was perpetual dexes because we're going to get to a
that's
time when these guys
yeah,
drop all their tokens.
yeah,
They've been farmed. Everyone's going to get a massive airdrop, and it's going to be network changing effects where I should say millionaires are created.
yeah.
And it's going to be a hot narrative that you want to be in and out of for a select period of time.
I was gonna add that. That was gonna be my next question
Yeah.
and topic is per platform, DEXs, etc. Obviously, Hyperliquid was the first. It's
Yeah.
obviously lost market share, lost
Mhm.
fees, as you would expect. Competition, technology evolves, innovation
Yeah.
comes in. Are you farming one of these very actively? I did a bit of Asta because I missed Hyperliquid. I didn't even know about Hyperliquid, which is crazy, and I was tapped in for. I think I was just so
Yeah.
into meme coins that I didn't even realize Hyperliquid was a thing.
Yeah, so mine
Talk to
was
me a little bit
worse.
about it.
I was told about Hyperliquid. I was a perps trader, but
Yeah.
I am just like the most stubborn person on earth. Like I haven't even moved over from MetaMask to a different wallet.
I
Like,
need to do that too.
and everyone always tells me like, "Are you like, what is wrong with you? How do you still use MetaMask?" I'm like, I just refuse to change. So
Yeah,
like, I just hate change. So
yeah,
I've been mostly do most of my perpetual. Even now, I do use Hyperliquid a bit, but I do most of mine on Bybit.
yeah, same.
That's just where I've got used to. I love the UI. I'm just, as I said, an old man that refuses change.
Yeah,
Across the journey, look, we're partnered with, we've got referrals with, obviously OKX and stuff, but it's
yeah,
not as easy to leverage trade there. But BitGet, other ones.
yeah,
But yeah, I find myself on just Bybit and Hyperliquid. For farming, I was lucky. Sorry, back to Hyperliquid. Yeah, I was shown it a billion times. I had even trading groups that my mates had set up that were trading on blah blah blah, and I just refused to. And then I missed the airdrop, but was lucky enough to invest very early in it.
yeah,
And then that was the same as Asta. I had never ever used Asta. I woke up about 5 a.m.
Yeah.
out of bed, spring chicken. My friend was smashing me on text. I was looking up CZ tweets, and I bought a chunk of it about 30 cents.
Nice.
So we were very lucky. We started smashing the buys in between 30 to 40 cents. I think we got an average buy of like 34 cents.
Mhm.
We sold a heap of that, me and my clients, at $1.75. We
Mhm.
unfortunately saw it go higher, and I was kind of
Mhm.
like, oh shit, have I sold
Mm.
before the magic 4 number or whatever it was? But it goes back to what we're talking about before, right? Like,
Yeah.
the worst thing you can do in this market is get, and that was in, let me remind, like, that was in 3 days that we
Yeah.
had that
Yeah,
trade.
it's
Like,
crazy,
it
bro.
wasn't like your normal, like, oh, it's been 6 months, should I take profit? It was like, fuck, like,
Mhm.
this has been 3 days, what do we do? And the main, like, precursor for me there was it getting listed on other
Mhm.
exchanges. And I said, as soon as that happens, I'm out with most of it. We're still holding a chunk. I think it's getting back to decent. You can probably see that horizontal support. It's getting to a
Mhm.
pretty favorable level
Mhm.
now. But for farming, back to, sorry, I do ramble a bit on
That's all right,
random
mate. It's
side
good
quests.
conversation. It's good
Yeah.
conversation.
I was looking, a lot of my clients, or some of them are farming lighter.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, that's obviously the big one there that most people are using. The kind of, I guess, narrative or logic there is kind of smart because it's got more volume. It's got, just not as near as much open interest, but
Yeah.
you might as well, once again, like, it's low fees, it's decentralized. If you want to get tokens of a platform that could be very, very, very big, um, you have no reason to not farm this. So if that was one I was going to suggest that I'm not really doing, but one I would do, it's definitely lighter.
Yeah.
As for other perp dexes, I'm not fully across it. I did buy a bit of Apex, did poorly there,
Mhm.
because literally all I thought, I didn't think the market was going to go down as much as it has,
Mhm.
obviously, because this was like 2 months ago, and I literally, my narrative was, okay, at Binance Smart Chain, or Binance's perp dex is like X amount of valuation, Hyperliquid's perp dex is X amount of valuation. Okay, why is Bybit's at 100 mil market cap?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it would be at like fucking 50 mil market cap or something now. What's the price? Yeah, 50 cents. So it would
Yeah.
be like, so I stuffed that up. But that was another one I was farming slash
Yeah.
looking into. But yeah, what about yourself? You
Look,
are lighter?
look, I faded lighter months ago. I
Mm,
feel annoyed. Yeah, I'm like you. It takes like I'm super degenerate, but I don't really enjoy moving money. So like particularly if it's perps, because like with Bybit, like I've got a fair chunk on there, right? And it's like
yeah.
moving that onto a chain where it's like a Dex and then perps. It's just like, I don't know about that. So I faded lighter and I trade with Bybit as well. But I got a DM about EdgeX months ago before they were even blowing up on volume 2. And sadly, I faded it. And now, of course, now
Look
of
at
course, yeah, like I got a DM back here. And
that.
I was like, I hit him up over the last 2 weeks. I was like, oh, bro, okay, I'm keen. Okay, let's talk. Get me involved. Blah blah blah. But I think like it's the same with everything, right? It's the same with NFTs, which we'll talk on shortly. But like as soon as a trend or as soon as a market becomes so saturated, there's no real upside left, right? So
No,
I would argue there's still a bit of upside left. Volume still it is starting to decline overall on perp volume. But again,
yeah.
if BTC can catch a bid, maybe gets back to 100K plus, then yeah, maybe volume does regain, move into 2026. It's just a very interesting market at the moment. But yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, there's so many. I think there's like 40 different opportunities, and half of them aren't even listed here either. So, um, yeah, it's just interesting that yeah, maybe I'll check out EdgeX if they get back to me. Maybe I should move a bit of money. Like,
Ostium is another
is it
interesting one
okay?
that was down the list. So if you
Yeah,
go down, 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 where was it? Ostium. So there, yeah.
yeah,
So you can see there. I think if you go to the coin, it's actually like a 10 to 20 mil coin, but like it's still got 100 million in volume.
yeah,
I know that through a friend because he was a seed investor. Once again, I think this was a lucky one where I should have been farming a lot earlier, but it hasn't done
yeah,
too well. But if you go, actually unsure if perp volume 30. Okay, so it's pretty similar to other ones actually, but
yeah.
that was another one that I noticed from the list. But it has been interesting to see how it's transpired because Dex's was huge on early in the cycle, but this was
Mhm,
like your woos, your what else
mhm,
was there? Sushi swap, all the
yeah,
ones that I got stuck with from 2021. And
yeah,
like once again, you go and look at those. Like I was just too early to it.
Yeah.
I was like investing, like even at the lows of 2022, I was investing in sushi, I was investing in
Yeah.
Woo, I was investing in these dexes, but obviously it was the wrong time and the wrong projects until we got to now. But just to touch on one last thing, what you said, yeah, you don't want to be caught holding a bag of a narrative late, and I would probably caution that there's less upside as a whole in perp
Yeah.
dexes now for sure.
Yeah.
And it could just be that similar situation where everyone tries to chase the ostium or the lighter, and it might just be that hyperliquid's the only one that goes, up or gets a
Yeah.
return.
And I think that's a good lesson in itself too, is like, don't be afraid to sit in stables and wait until maybe a cycle leader emerges. So
Yeah.
one of the two of the best trades I've had all cycle was going full into Solana rather than ETH and BTC in 2023 because it looked good against them.
Mhm.
And it was oversold and people were starting to trade on there again. Memes obviously picked up later in the year. I was like, oh yeah, no, this is a no-brainer trade. But the beta play to that was getting radium at 20 cents. And so I sold that at $8. It was about a 45x. But that was me adapting a strategy from last cycle going Uniswap went big, SushiSwap was big, PancakeSwap was big. These
Yeah.
tokens all ran out very nicely. Wait, if Solana goes big, there's no real competitor at the moment. Radium makes a lot of sense. It's got liquidity pools, they're earning fees, they've got this revenue model. I was like, okay. Then Jupiter obviously came out. I was like, it's still liquidity pools. Memecoins picked up. I was like, okay, well, it makes even more sense now. All the liquidity pools from Memecoins go to Radium. And that's like an example of like a fundamental trade, but I picked up the technicals at around 20 cents. I was like, hold on, like
Yeah.
this is $50 million. If this is going to be one of the top dexes on Solana, this is going to absolutely print. And sure enough, it ran up, 50x after that, I think. So
Yeah.
that's a good example of a different sort of adapting strategy from something that worked last cycle, but adapting it to where times are now.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So I literally exact same thing. I bought Solana's pretty much been our best investment for the cycle as
Mhm,
well. But we were buying it at 20, like we didn't even hit the bottom, right? It got to
mhm,
September 2022. I was just around the FTX, and we were buying it at 20,
mhm.
15 and $25. And I think the low was what, 7 or 8 or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
Yeah. And so like, at the highs we had over a 10x, whatever it
yeah,
was. Similar thing. So but mine's, I'll keep it short and sharp, but instead of radium, I had the choice of, I was like, okay, exact same thought process as you. It's all on chain, need to invest in. I had the option of Jupiter or radium. And for some dumb reason, I went with Jupiter. And this is back, it was at high valuation. So I think Radium, let's just call it $2 at the time.
yeah.
And Jupe was around, I can't remember what it was. Like, let's just
Mhm,
say it was $1.
mhm,
And I went with Jupiter,
mhm.
sadly. And, the maximum it went up to, I think, was like $1.40 after so I was buying it in that early 2024 stage, maybe. So it was like
Good,
about a
yeah,
dollar, around there, and it went
yeah,
as high. But if you look at Radium's chart, like same time, it was like $2 to $8 or
yeah,
something. Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah,
yeah,
early 2024, you can see, it was around that dollar. So it's pretty much similar valuation. I just picked the wrong one.
yeah.
Um, so
And
yeah, that
that's
was a bit
crypto.
sad.
That's just how it works, right? Like, you
Yeah,
can't win everything.
no,
And like we said, like I miss Hyperliquid, but I caught Radium, right? Whereas other
yeah.
people would have probably done the opposite. So, what's your opinion on NFTs? I hold a Pudgy Penguin, and as we discussed earlier, round tripping is part of the game. And sadly, I've round tripped my Pudgy Penguin from about 21K. It went all the way up to about 60, 70,000 US dollars a few months ago. We had a guy on the show from America, Kicks, and he sold his literally the day before he jumped on our show. He was like, yeah, look, it's up like heaps. And I was like, yeah, no, it's going higher. And then, of course, now I'm back below where my entry is. What's your opinion on NFTs and the future of NFTs and whatnot?
Yeah, look, I'm so circling back to last cycle, I was the exact same as you. I'm pretty sure if I go and get my 2021 MetaMask wallet connected to OpenSea, you'll see a plethora of worthless NFTs that are just sitting there. I remember buying the Rugrats creators NFTs, and like
Yeah, yeah.
it's just like all these crazy ones, thinking, oh, these are going to be worth 500K in future. They're all just worth nothing now. So, really, it goes back to our conversation of what we were talking about before about what is required to make an alt season happening. And the way that I position NFTs is the absolute pinnacle of alt season. And that is, what does an NFT represent? Not much, but it represents absolute peak human greed. And when do we get that? Only when the conditions are right, when things are sailing, when everyone has stimulus, when everyone has money. It was much easier when we're sitting in our bedrooms hiding away from COVID and the government's paying us 2K to sit at home to buy an NFT, right? Than it is when, like you said, rent is high,
Mhm.
groceries are high, interest rates are high. Is anyone actually out there as a marginal buyer for NFTs? No.
Mhm.
So can that change? Yes. Do I think they're attractive right now? No. They are at lower valuations, but would you prefer, once again, do you have more confidence in putting, let's just say we do get one more large pullback, do you have more money do you have more confidence, sorry, putting your money in, say, a CryptoPunk versus just buying Ethereum straight out? I think you'd have a lot more, confidence in Ethereum, right?
Yeah.
Even though the R might be a bit lower.
Yeah.
But do I think they have a place in the future? Of course. But
Mhm.
like most things in crypto, I think we misplaced the tech behind them.
Mhm.
I think even I was telling other people in 2021, oh, we're going to do university degrees and
Mhm.
we're going to be able to have your house as an NFT and you'll sell it. And maybe that's one thing that's taken away from it, tokenization. Do we
Mhm.
really need NFTs anymore? Probably not. You can just tokenize everything on the blockchain anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think, once again, that it's very similar to the market, that there will be outperformers. So,
Yeah.
what's the hyper? There you go, the hyper one on
Yeah.
your list there, right? Like people who bought those early have made generational wealth.
Yeah.
Pudgy Penguins, obviously the one you have, is another. Very, 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 very minor outperformers in a
Yeah.
very, very saturated and diluted market. If I was out there and I was trying to speculate in this market, it wouldn't be where I would go to first.
Yeah.
Definitely a late cycle thing, late altcoin cycle if we do get one. Definitely probably wouldn't angle towards it now.
Yeah.
Do you have similar thoughts? Are you
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, I'm in the camp that I'm like, well, hold on, this asset's worth 30,000 Australian dollars, or maybe a little bit less than that. I'm like, that's a lot of money I could buy. Like, I could go towards a
Yeah.
house deposit, etc. Right.
Mhm.
Um, So yeah, I'm in the camp. I know it's such a weird market at the moment. With like, obviously we've obviously saw Pengu launch a year ago. That transformed my life. I think I got 100K cash free from literally buying my
There you
pudgy
go.
at the lows in November last year. So it's just been about trading specific trends at the right time. And
Mhm.
sadly, I should have maybe rotated out of my current pudgy at 60K, and I could have bought like three of them now for
Yeah.
the same price, right? So it is about opportunity cost. It's about, as you say, who is the buyer? Like that's the question you need to ask. The one obviously is that Moonbirds is going to have a TG. Breakpoint is, I believe, this weekend, and Spencer is going to speak at that. So potentially he might announce a TG. Hopefully these might do a 2x for me ahead of that TG, and maybe I'd sell out of my Moonbird that I currently hold around break even. So
Yeah.
like outside that, like again, you're speculating on news, or like if he doesn't launch that, then these probably dump back to like
Yeah.
to like sub 1 ETH, right? So it's a brutal market, and you do have to, as you said, like let's talk on that maybe as the last sort of topic before we obviously do a yeet giveaway at the end of the show. What like where do you see the market in 2026? I'll start with my take. I think it's going to be a lower high.
Mhm.
I think there's too much resistance overhead for Bitcoin. Specifically, I think Ethereum and Co are going to outperform Bitcoin, but that's just going to be a short term sort of thing. And 2026 will just be, yeah, a little bit of a relief bounce, maybe complacency bounce, and then from there, I think we probably head towards a maybe a year or 2 years multi bear market. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's just like and it sounds like a coward answer, but I can never remember a time where it's been harder to interpret the high time frame
Yeah.
aspect of this market, and that actually doesn't matter whether it's technicals or whether it's fundamentals. So, like, let's just briefly talk about the technical case for entering a bear market now. That would be, we've got monthly RSI and MACD divergences that pretty
Mhm.
much align exactly with 2021 on Bitcoin. These take months and months to play, or on the weekly, I should say, as well.
Mhm.
And these, if you look at last cycle, you can see the end result of those, right?
Mhm.
Then you can talk about the fundamental side, right? And the macroeconomics. The reason why it's very, very, yeah, sorry, that's a perfect illustration of that there. And you can see the bearish cross on MACD as well.
Mhm.
Um, and then that exact. Yeah, if you go to the
Happens every
weekly as
time.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
go to the weekly on Bitcoin, and if you
Mhm.
get up, you can see. So there you can see the divergence, right?
Mhm.
Where it's the exact same as 2021 on MACD that has the lower high that created on MACD when it made
Mhm.
that new ath, and then we did the exact same thing this time around. But yeah, and then I think, but the harder thing for me to grasp here, right, is okay. can you ascertain that we have structurally entered bearish market structure? Well, I'll just get you to note on the chart right now. That recent low we made is actually a higher low. It
Correct. Yeah.
actually is not a lower low.
Yeah.
And if we had fallen through and closed below 74K, well, I think there's literally zero arguments from there.
Yes. Yes.
However, this is why it becomes so tricky, right? Because if you're willing to fade this here, there is a large aspect of me that could say we could rally to a new higher high
Yeah.
before we enter a bear market, just based on that structure alone.
Yeah.
And then you have to bake in macroeconomics, you have to bake in everything else. And that's the reason that's clinging me on to that this isn't over just quite yet. I'm not, I wouldn't say I have as much conviction as you for 2026 that it will be a bear market. I think you can equally make an argument that 2025 was a bear market for cryptocurrency. But I do think that, just quickly on the macro, that if we get sustained rate cuts, inflation moves towards 2%, there's stimulus introduced, and also that the yen doesn't unwind, then I think Bitcoin can make that higher high. However, I think it's just as simple as what we said at the very start of this. You have invalidation, you have technicals. For me, it's simple. Just keep trading the noise until 74K is lost. If it
Yeah.
isn't structurally, I think we can make a new higher high and a new all-time high.
Yeah.
I think most people are. I don't know. Would you say most people are bearish now? I probably.
It's so funny, man. Like, I was bearish at the highs, multiple swing failure patterns, etc.,
Yeah.
and we shorted a lot of this move.
Yeah.
So, and then everyone always gets bearish down here, right? Be bearish up here, not down here. That's probably a good secret in itself. Yeah, look, look, I agree. Like, I'm just in the camp that it just feels exhausted. It's been very institutional based, as we discussed, right? I do, like, as you said, structure hasn't changed. So technically we could put in a
Yeah.
higher high. I just don't know. And if we do, I would say it could be very much a sweep of all of this and kind of do what we did back here in 2021.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably my next piece of advice, NFA, is that would be the absolute time you have to get out of a lot of your positions, even if it's, whether it's a swing failure of those highs, whether it's a higher high anywhere between 130 to 100, you should be exiting a lot of your positions there, or at least taking healthy profits, because I think at some point in 2026 to 2027, I do have a pretty daunting outlook on macro side once this does unravel.
Yeah.
The other side of, keeping this market so heated, is that these stock markets can't go up forever.
Yeah.
And that was also going to be a kind of another argument for why you can remain slightly bullish, is that they do look like they can see a little higher, even as ridiculous as they do look. But eventually that has to come tumbling down. Once again, who are the marginal investors and buyers of Bitcoin currently? They are the people buying up this market as well. When the music stops on the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, the music stops much harder on Bitcoin. And so that's probably another worry, but also, a kind of another thing that gives me brief confidence is that until these markets stop, yeah, I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, I think it's, as you said, it's important to probably just trade between the noise, and I would definitely be taking a lot off the market. I think my issue was I thought we would get this at the end of 2025, or at least in Q3 24. I think whilst the swing value pattern happened at those highs on Bitcoin, admittingly, I didn't think the pullback was be as hard as what it was. I don't think many people did.
No.
And I think that's what caught me largely off guard in my spot positions. But, dating back to what we said about learning a new skill, this is why it's so imperative to be able to short the market, because you can just hedge against your spot positions.
Exactly.
I was short from the highs as well. You really begin to not care about the unrealized losses on it if you're printing so much on shorts.
Yeah.
And I think it's the most important skill to learn, is trade the markets both ways.
Yeah.
People don't actually realize day to day how much money you can make from shorting this market.
Yeah.
And it's an awesome skill to have. And once again, I think you'd want to be on the right side of that next higher high if it did get made, or even if we put in a lower high incoming here. I think if we get nasty rejections at this yearly open, I think if we get a rally to 98K and the lower highs made then we're toast.
Yeah.
And they're really good areas to reshort if you're not already short.
Yeah.
So
There's so much resistance for me. Like, we have like 198, we have 106 to 110. You then obviously even like 115 on the weekly. So like there's just it has to go. There has to be a huge strength in move for me to really see this going back to all-time highs.
I guess I'll ask you a flip question, just one last one on what you said before. You said it looks very exhausted. Do you think that there's an element of the selling can be exhausted here? Because I look back to kind of the on-chain analysis of what the selling was, right? It was ETFs, which are now buying, I think, or they've been green the last 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
Obviously, the most imperative seller that we had across October and November was our long-term holders, our OG
Yes.
whales,
Yes.
which I think there was over 30 billion in selling pressure in October alone
Yeah.
from that cohort. Have you seen these things dampened, and does that mean that we could get relief to the upside?
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, you get relief. But like my co-host Craig, like him, and I'm sure a lot of people are probably in the camp of like, well, if we get a pump, I'm probably going to sell.
Yeah,
It's our last chance, right? And so, do we front run all of those people and only get to 98K, and then
yeah,
we're in the bear market for a couple of years? Who knows?
yeah,
And you're right. Like it's funny. Like everyone's like, oh, ETFs are a good thing, and like, yeah, sure, it allows people to get exposure to the market, not directly, right? But like everyone's fumbling in at highs. Look at this, and then fumbling out at lows. So as you said, retail interesting. Institutionals or slash Bitcoin whales from OG days selling, that's interesting as well. But it's just a transfer of wealth, right? It is
yeah.
going from the OG whales to now your institutions, your hedge fund, your countries. You could throw multiple countries out there as well. So yeah, I definitely think we could pump. It's just a very interesting market, and not many people are reading it correctly or even have a bias at the moment. So yeah, as you just say, that's the beauty of like me stabling up a lot of my spot portfolio and just moving more to Bybit and trading every day. Like I can trade higher percentages and capitalize all the moves throughout whatever happens over the coming months. So
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of being able to do that. And for anyone watching out there, why you should learn it is, yeah, there's opportunities in this market every second of every day. Like it doesn't matter whether it's on the short or long side. Most people get bored or probably sick of this market because it chops, but without realizing every single day, there's whether it's altcoins, whether it's Bitcoin, you could just trade Bitcoin alone.
yeah,
You could just trade Bitcoin and only know the swing value pattern as the only technical analysis tool that you
literally,
know,
yeah,
and you would out. I tell this to my clients all the time, and I say you would out trade 99% of the market if you had no idea what RSI was, no idea what fibs were.
yeah,
All you knew was the swing value pattern.
yeah,
You traded swing trades on the long and short side of it, and like if, for instance, like look as you showed before, the 126K SFP
yeah,
was the most obvious SFP I've ever seen on Bitcoin, I think, in its history.
yeah.
And yeah, if you just knew that, you'd profit heavily on both sides of the market. And as we've kind of noted, you're able to stay in the market and make profit every single day. So yeah, if it's one skill I would learn, it's to properly leverage trade, not gamble. And you can profit at any moment on any day of this market. So
Yeah, no, well said. And I mean, yeah, just to touch base on that finally, like, yeah, it was a
yeah,
weekly swing pattern. It was a 5-day swing pattern. It was a 3-day. It was a 1-day. It was crazy. Yeah, it was
yeah.
like the perfect rejection. Like the
And
perfect.
like perfect retest, perfect
Yeah,
bearish back test, and then
yeah.
just
Thank you for
yeah,
the question.
exactly,
I
exactly.
love it.
It's not nice to look at, but
Yeah.
it's nice to look
Yeah,
at.
amazing. No, well, Mitch, thanks so much for jumping on with me today. I won't
There
let
you are.
you stay on for this giveaway. That always takes a good 5-10 minutes potentially as well. But mate,
That's
thanks
right.
so much for jumping on with me. It's an absolute pleasure to chat with someone who aligns so nicely and also is in Australia. So thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Greeny, and thank you everyone for coming to watch. We'll have to jump on maybe another time in 2026 to recount what we spoke about and see how the market's played out. So I'm sure I'll see you at an
Yeah,
event sometime soon. Maybe I'll have to come to Queensland and get out of the misery that's down here, and we
absolutely,
can
mate. Yeah, you're
do something
welcome
else.
up here anytime for
Yeah,
sure.
awesome, awesome. Alrighty, thanks, brother. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you to everyone else that came to watch.
No worries, mate. Have a good day.
Cheers.
All right, chat. We'll do the Yeet giveaway. Massive shout out to Mitch slash Jago, obviously, on Twitter. I shared his Twitter before in the chat, so you can go and follow him there as well. Very similar to me. As you can see, it's just so easy to talk to one Australians. It's so easy to talk to Australians, but two, it's just so easy to talk to people who align with you with similar views, similar ways for trading the market, and the opportunities out there. So yeah, go give him a follow, guys. All right, we'll do this year giveaway. Everyone has dropped their username before. Yeah, I've added some new. Slowly, guys. Craig comes back next week. I am looking to try and set up a new streaming way so that we can have like the Kick viewer live. We can have the followers pop up. We can have the subs pop up. We can obviously have certain things as well. So um, yeah, we might be trying to move to OBS rather than going through Restream. So exciting time, and hopefully that'll kick off next week. I'll have to have a play over the weekend, and then make sure Craig can get on all good as well. So that means there'll be less streams across different socials. It'll be very much just our X page, GC Crypto, or Kick will be the primary location, and that's where we'll have giveaways, opportunities exclusive to people who are watching us over on Kick. So if you are new on Kick, guys, drop a follow. If you love this content, if you want to support the content, we really do appreciate if you do subscribe to us on Kick. It goes a long way. You can sacrifice one coffee a month to support us, who give you this alpha, give you these interviews like today as often as we can, guys. So smash that as well. All right, guys. Yeah, there's a few new prompts as well. So if you do an exclamation point, you can do a couple of different Kick bot. I should write them out. It's interesting how that. It's weird that you can't like see the list, but yeah, you can do some like followage. I know a couple of the crew just did that. Ponky just did that. So Ponky's been following for 3 months, which is great to see. Ponky, not even subscribed. Ponky though, disappointing. Bubbles are pumping, Zeus. I did see that. I've got a tweet that just dropped before. I bought 131 bubbles, so we'll see how that plays. I think apparently it's supposed to be lasting like multiple years, so we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, that's an interesting X copy experiment. So how many are we down to? So it still says 2.4 million. I wonder how many have popped. But yeah, I have 131 of these bad boys. Maybe I'll buy some more eventually. For 33 cents, I was like, it could be a gamble. Happy to have a punt. All right, guys, we'll do the ETH giveaway. Don't forget, the more volume you got, okay, just a reminder, okay, 40% community airdrop. That is massive. That's unspoken of. Don't forget, the more volume you do per month, guys, the more we can obviously give away. So massive shout out to GG, who's really carrying this month at the moment. Shout out to obviously everyone else who's in the giveaway today as well. But don't forget, more volume obviously gives you a better incentive for the airdrop, and also helps us give away more cash every single week to you guys who watch our show. And thank you for watching our show. We very much do appreciate it. All right. Polina, you aren't on our Yeet giveaway. I just had a look. You aren't on our page. Here's the list. You aren't on here. So you don't qualify, sorry, for the giveaway. You need to sign up to Yeet. It's in the description down below. If you sign up to Yeet and do some volume, you will be on the list. And then you can obviously win some cash for the giveaway. So I've just dropped it in the conversation as well in the chat. All right, guys, here's the giveaway today. So big list of people, all the OGs, all the people who have been with us every day. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we're doing $50 a day at the moment. Excellent, Paulina. So that means, Paulina, come back tomorrow and you will qualify if you've done some volume, because the leaderboard will update for me. All right, guys, here we go. So GG's, good luck to everyone. Let's see who wins today. Day 4 of the week, another 50 buckaroonies. Let's see who wins today. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. All right. Here we go. Angelos coming in. Angelos wins the 50 today, guys. Congrats to Angelos. Love to see it. W's in the chat for Angelos, guys. I will obviously sort that out on Friday once I've got all 5 giveaway winners. Massive shout out to everyone who's tuned in. Massive shout out to Mitch, obviously, as well, for jumping on stream today. Great to have a conversation with him. As always, guys, thanks for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow. I've got Sexy from GTG as a trader jumping on with me, and Cappy might be joining us again, who joined us earlier in the week as well. So massive show again tomorrow. Got some guests. Hopefully we'll get some more people on in the coming weeks. And then Craig and I will be taking the Christmas week off as a little bit of a holiday to treat ourselves. So last week of streaming will be next week. So drop a follow if you're new here. Drop a sub to support the content, and shout out to obviously everyone who tunes in every single day. I very much do appreciate you. All right, guys. Peace out. See you tomorrow. Thank you.